thanks for coming out to demo today. All right, so I was actually telling Linda this a little bit ago, but a number of years ago, I took a class called Expressive Arts. And if you've never done it before, I'm going to just kind of walk you through what that entails. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip some watercolor paper here up against this metal edge. But the Expressive Arts class was really interesting because it's all about what you subconsciously are creating, and you don't really realize it until the final piece is revealed. And it's a really interesting technique. And so, to get started here, I'm going to take my watercolor paper and I'm going to make 3 even pieces. I'm going to turn this impossible to hear from here. So I'm going to make 3 even pieces because we don't want it to be given away which piece is what. So we're going to just rip those down to size here. All right. Okay. Then what we do on the back, okay, is we write 3 things. And so I think for this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pen here. I'm going to, not that pen, my other pen, this pen. I'm going to take my pen here. And on the back, you can write about things that maybe are challenging for you, or if you want to say, oh, I want to learn more about this part of my life, you can write these words down. So I decided, and these aren't things I'm having problems with, it's just topics to talk about. So on the back side here, I'm going to write my business, because like my art store, me, my personal self as an artist, and lastly about like my relationships. Okay, all right, then you take your pieces, you flip the words upside down so you can't see them, and you just kind of move them around like this. So you have no idea what you're going to be creating on. And then you just put them down on the paper here, and you can tape them in place, but you can hold them in place. But the thing is that you don't want to lift them up and see what the things are. So now you just create. And it can be anything you've learned, anything you're getting excited about. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started here with just some fun little things that I enjoy. So I'm going to just put down some, ooh, this is a fun color, some pink metallic paint. I'm just going to kind of draw and kind of paint here, and just kind of to like my heart's desire. It doesn't really need to be anything specific. It can be movements. It can just be fun. I just realized I need a little bit of water here, which I'll grab here in a moment. Hey, Jay. Yeah. Can you please bring me this small little spray bottle of water, please? Yeah. And we'll just kind of create some fun little things here. And just kind of like a variety of different techniques that maybe we've learned over the years. Thank you. Just get some water here and kind of thin that out a little bit, so then that way I can get some cleaner lines here. There we go. And I might add like some fun like little dottings. And let's go in and we can use our fun markers. And this is watercolor paper here. So I know that these markers are gonna move with water. So I'm just going to put some color down, and let's blend into this color. And then maybe we'll go into the blues. And what you're kind of doing is you're just kind of listening to the, like, oh, I'm really attracted to this color right now, or maybe I'm really interested in this color. But basically just laying down things and kind of creating ideas without knowing which direction it's going to go. So it's a little bit of a release in that you don't really know what you're getting until, like I said, until the final piece is revealed. So because this is watercolor paper, and these are the markers that we're using, these are combo markers, they actually move with water. So I'm actually just going to take this and I'm just going to activate the ink and just kind of blend these together here. And then maybe I'll kind of do like some dry brushing techniques, maybe something like this. Kind of just pulling out some of that color, just kind of creating interest here. Okay, and then maybe over here, I'm just really drawn to the greens at the moment. So I'm going to kind of pull in some green colors here. And I think I'm just going to kind of maybe make this kind of plant looking. I might draw in some kind of fluffs and things. And we'll do some different colors here. And so you're just kind of creating, like I was saying, kind of like to your heart's desire. There's not really a plan as you get started. The only knowing that at the back of your mind, you have created 3 different elements. And in those elements, there will be something that is communicated to you that maybe you did not think about. And it's a really kind of a bizarre technique. When I first learned about expressive arts, I was like, I don't know about this. But then later on, because I mean, we're talking, I took this class, 12 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. Oh, don't want to look at that, but I don't want to get my paint all over me. And so when I had taken the class, it actually, in the moment, I was like, I don't know about this, because it was about expressing yourself, because we were working with clients and adults who had developmental disabilities, and those clients couldn't always communicate with words. And so what we were trying to do is saying, hey, here's some paint, just express yourself, right? Just get those feelings out. And then we had to take the class ourselves in order to communicate and direct our clients to help them to communicate and through art. And so this is just one of those things that we had done. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of go in this direction. Again, I'm just kind of creating, I love to work in colors, like all the colors together. They just make me really, really happy. And then I think I'm going to take this edge here. And I'm going to use this with water, because again, this is watercolor paper. I'll pull this out a little bit. And we're just going to pick up some color and kind of move this around so it looks a little bit more like watercolor. Okay. And I think I'll probably just do a quick little background wash here. Ooh, that's actually kind of cool. We'll kind of move this around just to kind of see. Okay, I feel like maybe this one is done. That's okay. All right, I love the greens. And this I am so drawn to. I just love the colors that are happening here. And I think what I want to do actually is I'm going to add some little hearts in here, because I'm just drawn to do that right now. And then my other color that I used, was that this one? Oh, not quite, but that's okay. And my purple. And what's kind of cool about this is that, let's say you messed up, or I put my hand in something else and you got moved. You just kind of roll with it. You just kind of go with the flow, even if it's not the vision you originally had, because subconsciously, weirdly enough, your subconscious is actually communicating with you about the things that you're wanting to create. It's a very bizarre process. Okay, and then finally with this one, I'm going to bring in some more colors here. I'm a big person on monochromatic, so you'll see me do this a lot. Whoops. I set that right in the water. Okay. There we are. And I'll get my water brush out one more time. Kind of like, you can kind of see the scribbly marks there. It's kind of interesting. In fact, I actually might bring that down into here. And then I'm just going to kind of draw around here to kind of add a little something extra. Who knows? Again, we're just kind of playing. And that's kind of the cool part about this kind of process, is that you can play and know that it doesn't matter what you create, because it's all about that, again, kind of communicating with your subconscious. All right. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop there. Actually, because this is the kind of person I am, I'm just going to add in some very small little hearts kind of here and there. So I have kind of an interesting kind of thing kind of happening here. Before I reveal what the different words are, just this reminds me of like life and growth. And this, I love how there's little hearts in here, and there's also a heart in here, and I have some extra hearts. So now we'll reveal what the different things are. So the growth one is my business. Hey, that matches perfectly. This one with all my different colors and my hearts, as an artist, That is so perfect. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm actually growing several different areas of my business right now. Right, we have the retail side of things, but also my own art. I've been making and producing my own art here and giving myself a platform to grow that. And we're doing fairy parties and wanting to be a fairy. So I'm like, I'm growing these different areas of myself as an artist. And that means this last one is about relationships, and how perfect is this with the heart, and how I have my single heart because of someone that I love, but also my love for other people as well. But that doesn't overpower what I have for my significant other. So anyways, it's just a really interesting technique that you can then say, oh, how does this art represent this word that's on the back? Anyways, I just wanted to share that technique with you because, like I said, when I first did it, I was like, I don't know about this, but I kept the pieces. And later on, I would consult them and I'd go back and say, oh, this actually kind of looks like this. And then I'd look at the back and say, oh, that actually fits this part of my life now. It's a very weird thing. So anyways, I just wanted to share this with you. Okay, this is another very weird technique, but is also kind of a fun idea. Oh, yeah, not a problem. I'm going to get out my watercolors here. Just going to pull some more watercolor paper here. All right. Okay. So, I'm sure that everyone has done this at least once in your life, where you just kind of scribble. You just kind of draw, maybe you look away, maybe you just make some movements. You're kind of just drawing some unusual shapes. You just never really know what you're going to get. I'm going to do this kind of a thing. Okay. So, it's kind of a scribble, but it could also, again, communicate things that maybe we hadn't thought about. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get out my watercolors. Oh, these are the ones I left her. And we're going to spritz our watercolors. Oh, I can see some colors were mixed in here that aren't supposed to be. I was doing some art with some kids earlier this week, and one of them was actually using my watercolor palette with markers, and so was putting their markers in my watercolor palette, which was not something that I would have recommended, but you know, kids have different ideas I hadn't really thought about. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to find shapes, and I'm just going to watercolor them in here, and which is kind of an interesting kind of technique. But what's happening here is that we're going to be drawn, or we're going to see things that maybe we didn't see before. And so it's a really kind of an interesting way to go, because again, we're opening our eyes up to a part of our brain that we are not personally like communicating with. And we're saying, I'm unintentionally creating art, not knowing what's going to come out of it. And it's kind of an interesting thing that kind of happens here. So already, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually seeing like a creature here. It could maybe be a bunny of some kind with some long ears. I'm just picking a color here that I'm drawn to in the moment, which is kind of this purpley kind of a color with a touch of maybe periwinkle in here. And I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And then I'm going to take my pen now, let this dry just a little bit. And then I'm actually going to add in some little kind of doodles kind of here, just to kind of follow some of these lines I've created here. Again, not really knowing how this final piece is going to end up. But also, this is just the kind of artist that I am. I never really know how things are going to end up until they're being created. Now, this is still a little bit wet here, so I'm just going to dab out some of my color. All right, and then I'm trying to think how bunny eyes usually look. So I'm going to just put some little eyes in here. Maybe it's no longer a bunny. Maybe it'll end up being a deer of some kind. And I'm just going to kind of outline, kind of darken up some of those doodle areas to kind of bring emphasis to our little creature here. All right, so now we've kind of created this kind of interesting kind of creature here. Anyways, with this idea that it was just kind of drawing in a doodle. But again, it's just kind of a really interesting way. And honestly, I was kind of hoping I would find a heart in there and I could color a cute little heart. But maybe I still will. Maybe I'll find something in here. I'm thinking maybe if I follow this line here, and just this edge of this line here, maybe I'll create that kind of heart. And that works. Yeah. I'm really drawn to hearts today because you know, I love so much. And then just because I want to finish this off, I'm just going to take my splatter, my purple splatter, just to kind of make it even, it just kind of adds just another little something, there's another little something else. And because this here of my little dotting, it almost looks like the string of a balloon possibly, but that kind of ended up kind of working out. So anyways, I don't know if you guys want to look at that a little closer. Yeah, all right, so then my other little idea here. So this was something someone had made for me, and it's actually Scrabble. It's a Scrabble board, and I don't know about you guys, but I journal. I love to write, especially, and I've done this ever since I was a kid. But I have had this situation where when I was younger, and I had so many feelings because my brother and I, like, we got along, but sibling rivalry definitely was a thing in my house. And one of the things that would happen is that I would just get so frustrated, or things would be going on, and I'd have all this emotion, and I didn't know how to get it out. And so I would write, I would journal, and it wasn't for anyone else to read. It was only for me, but it helped get the emotions out. And one time, my grandma found one of my journal entries, and she said, "I think you were mad at your brother this day." And I was like, oh, I couldn't believe someone else had, and she had unintentionally, but she had found it laying around because I was venting and I had just left it. And I was so embarrassed. I crumpled it up and I threw it away because I couldn't believe that someone else had read my personal thoughts. I don't even know what it said to this day. I can't even imagine what it said, but I was so embarrassed. Anyways, but oftentimes we put our feelings in through words. Now, this is a technique that Susie Behringer actually taught me, where you just write your feelings on a piece of paper, you crumple it up, and you create art with it. And knowing that those feelings are all on the page and what you're going through is there, but you can just start ripping it up and just creating with it. And you can lay it down, you can use it as a tool, you can make it as collage, you can do art on top of it if you would like. Maybe I don't want the date to be necessarily showing, maybe I do. And I'm just going to kind of start laying things down and kind of just creating and just kind of seeing what's going to happen here. Now, since I forgot to bring over my glue, I'm actually just going to use a clear glaze here. If this will come out, it will. So this is just a clear, this is actually called Nuvo Crystal Drops, and it's just a clear glaze, but I'm actually going to use it as a glue because it will also work as a glue. So I'm going to lay that down first, and what's going to happen is that because of the of what this is, because it's kind of shiny and raised up, it's going to, one, it will help bond my papers to my page here, but then it will also have a slightly glossy finish and textured when I'm all done. So I'm just going to kind of lay these things in here. And we're going to lay this down here. And the idea here is that you might be able to see and read a few words, but we're mostly making this as an art piece to be enjoyed as art, not to be enjoyed as someone to read our personal thoughts and feelings. So we're just going to kind of lay this down. What I was journaling about was actually that I was really happy. So I know from the feelings of what I'm creating here that it's coming from a place of happiness, that I was just like overjoyed. But what the thing is with doing this technique is that you will want to find and use colors that match the feeling that you're going through when you are writing and journaling. So then that way you're kind of communicating the feelings that you need to communicate. And it's a great way to, maybe process and almost kind of like a therapeutic kind of a thing, like it's almost like art therapy, because you're saying, okay, this is what I'm going through, these are my feelings, now let's find colors that match with that. So I wrote this out this morning, and then I picked out colors that I enjoy, that bring me lots of joy, and those colors are of course rainbow colors, because I love everything rainbowy. So I'm just doing a quick collage background here. All right, and now I'm just going to start painting. And so I decided to get some acrylic paints today. So I already have pink down here, so I'm just going to add in some purple. I know I have some yellow over here. We're going to go with red. Yellow. Oh, that one's a little watery. I have at least, 2 different shades of green. And get some blue in here. All right, now I'm going to take with my same brush here because it's already wet and kind of gunky from what I was doing. Oh, I need white. What's this guy? Let's move this guy here. Whoop. It's kind of a darker shade of white, but it will still work. All right, so I'm going to start out kind of lay this down, and I'm going to kind of do this in the middle here. And again, if the words poke through, great, but the idea is that we're not making it so that we're trying to read the words. We're just putting art on top of this and communicating that our feelings in that moment, in that time. And I decided I'm going to do some kind of water kind of a scene, because not that the water really goes with what I'm writing about, but that's just kind of the feeling of having that like open ocean in front of you, like the sky's the limit, the ocean is the limit. That's kind of the feeling that I'm kind of experiencing right now. And so I'm just going to kind of pull this in here, kind of just do my painting along the bottom here. And then I have my fan brush with me. Oh, I don't. I need my paintbrush. I'm wanting to use specifically for this. This is the one. This is a fan brush. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this.
Oh yes.
The fan brushes are really amazing. I actually learned how to use these from an acrylic paint instructor that we had a class from here. And he was telling me about how you can actually use the fan brushes to create perfect trees. And then I learned how to use it, and it changed the way that I paint trees. It actually, as I always wondered how people make those perfect pine trees, this is the tool. This is the one. I had no idea. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to start with a slightly lighter green. I'm going to do just some, on the bottom here, I'm going to kind of do like a little, like maybe hillside or some grass kind of in my foreground here. All right, and then I'm going to let this dry just a little bit here as I'm laying down some more colors. And I'm actually using the movement of this brush to kind of create these kind of fun little strokes with it. Whoops, my brush needs to be re-glued here. There we go. Which is probably why it was to the side. And I'm just going to kind of use these to kind of bring my grasses forward. And then for my sky up here, I have my blues. I'm going to clean out my brush. And then I think what I want to do here is I actually want to create, I think I'm going to do, oh, do I have some brown here? I do. I think I'm going to create just like a little, kind of maybe like a boat or something, kind of off here, kind of in the distance, perhaps. Maybe it's kind of on the water. And then I love the idea. Something about sailboats always makes me really feel at peace. However, I don't know what an actual sailboat like looks like with all like the specifics. So I apologize if you're looking at that and you're like, Ellie, that is not a sailboat. I'm just going with the knowledge that I have, in case you're wondering how I'm getting to this point. All right, and I'm just going to kind of create like some mass in here. And honestly, my shaping here might actually look more like a pirate ship, but anyways, I'm just going to create like a ship of some kind here that's what I'm going for here. And I know that there's like the mast of some kind. Again, I'm not quite sure. Oh well, that's okay. All right, and then I'll go back in and add some brighter white here, temper it in just a moment. Okay, so now I wanted to kind of create a sunset. So I'm just going to lay down my colors here. And the sunsets we've been having recently have been absolutely stunning. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's just absolutely incredible what happens with the sky out there. It's just amazing. So I'm just mixing some colors down here, trying to achieve a certain shade. Okay. I'm going to kind of blend this across here. What I really need is some more orange in here and not so much red. And what's cool about the sunsets is that not every sunset is perfect, and they're all kind of bizarre, and you just never know what you're going to get here. Okay. But mostly, I just want to make sure I'm using colors that express the feelings that I'm experiencing when I was going through writing, doing my little write-up here. All right, and then I'm just going to throw in a little bit of purple up here. Now, technically, the blue down here doesn't really make sense unless the sky is blue. So we're going to kind of make it kind of a similar kind of interesting kind of reflection in our water here. Okay. All right. And I think I'm going to add in kind of a little bit brighter here along our horizon. And I'm going to add, I think, what's the color in here? some kind of orangey kind of color here along our bottom here. Okay, so I'm just kind of laying down some colors here. All right, now I'm going to add in a couple trees, and we're going to call it good. So to get our tree shape, we're going to take our fan brush, and we're actually going to pull this up here and kind of bring that here, right across. It's kind of breaking that horizon line, which we actually kind of want. And then I'm going to take a couple different shades of green here. And then this is how you make your pine trees. You actually go back and forth like this. And then you go up to the towards the top. And as you get towards the top, you actually go back and forth like this. You kind of lean one direction or the other to get that kind of movement that kind of goes across here. And now, because it's kind of at sunset, I'm going to add in some black. Now, traditionally, what I used to be a face painter, you guys know this already, of course. So when I used to be a face painter, interestingly enough, black is what we add last. So you lay down your color and then you go back in and add all of the black details. And so I'm going to actually just add in some grasses here. And because this is the Nuvo crystal drops, I can actually have control over the shape. And because it is acrylic paint, it is also going to be slightly raised up when we're done. Oh. It's really interesting. Now for my tree here, I'm going to go right up the center here. But then I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm actually going to pull that out because I want it to still look like a pine tree, but I don't want it to be as line oriented like my Nuvo crystal drops. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Oh no, I'm good. I can see good.
Yes, and so I'm just going back and forth here, and I'm just adding in the black here to really give nice contrast on my tree. And then I'm going to kind of come down here, and I'm just going to kind of use the tip of my fan brush to kind of pull out some of these little grasses and things. Because again, these are in our foreground, but they're having, against that bright sunset back here, you're really having the black in there is just, it just makes it really kind of pop, and it's just going to stand out quite a bit more. And then I'm going to take my black again. Actually have a little bit extra right here, and I'm just going to go right along the bottom of my little sailboat. Actually, I think I need to pull some of this again. And now I'm gonna sailboats. Is it a triangular mast? Triangle. Okay, it is. All right. I just wasn't sure because I know pirate ships. It's those big, long, square ones with the big billows. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's a slightly smaller one on the other side. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not 100% certain, but again, those of you that know sailboats a little bit better than me are probably like, oh, Ellie, you're so wrong. But that's okay. That's all right here. All right, and I'm adding... What was that? No comment. No comment. That's okay. That's all right. I know that my art does not realism, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. All right, I'm just going to add some kind of water movement down here along my bottom. Just so that we're kind of communicating that it's water here, and then my horizon lines up here. All right. And then, just because I want to, I'm just going to add in some of my the quick little birds that you can kind of make with our upside down W's here. All right. So there we have that. So this one is pretty wet still, so I'm actually going to get another piece to lay it on so you guys can see it up close. But I really it's really a fascinating technique using your journaling pages as a way to create art. Because again, now I'm kind of looking back on this, and it's, what I see here, if there was a word I was going to communicate, it would be hope or inspiration, and which totally goes along with what I was writing about originally. So anyways, for those of you that want to see that up close, but there we are.
Lots of texture.
Yeah, lots of texture. Isn't that
I like it.
Yeah, so there we are.
That's what did interesting.
Yeah. So, Karen, just so you were wondering, what we were talking about today is expressive arts. So one of the techniques I was talking about was putting words on the backs of pieces of paper and then mixing them up and then laying them down, not knowing, and then just creating to your heart's desire, whatever you want to create. And then when you're done, revealing those and saying, oh, this is about my business. Oh, this kind of has that movement of growth, which is the direction we're heading in. Or this, as me as an artist, I'm actually growing several different areas of my art skills. And then this is in my relationships, my focal point, which is my significant other, but also having love for other people. And so you have this way of communicating with yourself subconsciously that maybe you had never done before. And then this idea was doing scribbles and then finding shapes in the scribbles and then bringing those out with a little bit of watercolor. So, All right, friends, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there because those were the ideas I wanted to share with you today. But I hope you guys had fun and hope you learned something. And maybe you'll take the ideas and maybe decide, oh, I actually need to create something like that too.
You've got 25 minutes.
I know, I do. I'm just not sure what else. These were the three things I mostly wanted to talk about today. So, but yeah, the journaling one, this I really, really love. And it's just something that is, like I said, I learned it from Susie. And she was the one that said, hey, you can journal and not journal for someone else to read, but just to have it as a jumping off point for creating art. And I just thought that was a really fun, really inspiring thing to say. But yes, isn't the fan brush just such a cool tool? This is what I used to create my tree there. So I thought that was really fun. So anyways, there's my little demo today. Again, not super long, but just wanted to kind of communicate that information. Thanks for joining us.